just find a quick couple of minutes here, just finding that seated position, getting nice and steady and focused on the mat. And if you are using an oil today, go ahead and start with that. I am going to use frankincense. Now, I know we've used frankincense already in this series, but I'm just so in love with frankincense. It is known as the king of oils. It's so powerfully healing. And one thing about it is it apparently helps you feel protected. So it's a very spiritual oil in that it helps you feel protected when you feel vulnerable. So whether or not you're using frankincense today, I want you to close in your eyes for a moment and imagine a veil of protection around you, just like a little bubble. And this bubble is like a shield to anything negative, anything that doesn't serve you, and just keeps everything positive within. I'm gonna place the hands, the back of the hands on the knees, and tuck the pointer finger under the thumb. The other three fingers are out. This is called Jana Mudra. And this is a gesture, it is said that this is a gesture of wisdom. So today we're going to be focusing on the niyama of Santosha. And Santosha is the practice of modesty and feeling content with what we have. And when we are at peace and content with ourselves, we can move through any circumstance, difficult, positive. When we have this feeling of Santosha or contentment, we can just accept that there's a purpose for everything. Accept anything that happens and be happy with where we are and who we are and what we have as we move forward in life. So take a moment now to set your intention for the practice. Perhaps allowing this intention to be based on feeling or cultivating that sense of contentment for where you are and who you are and everything that you have in your life. Now, Lao Tzu says, be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. So allow that to settle in. On the next breath, gently open the eyes and come onto your back. So the first posture is a little bit more of an active posture, but it is one that's known to help cultivate Santosha. And you guys have done this before. So roll the shoulders back and down, palms by your side, or palms down, palms up or palms down. From here, I want you to draw the belly button in towards the spine and start to tilt the pelvis under, taking the low back towards the floor. Keeping your knees and ankles in alignment with each other. I want you to push the hips up to the sky and roll up onto your shoulders. Cultivating a little bit of a headstand, strengthening the back, strengthening the legs. And really focus on shining that heart space up. Another breath. And gently relax. Take the right ankle over top of the left knee and draw the left knee in towards the chest, allowing both legs to come in, the right knee off to the side, coming into figure 4. Now, throughout this practice, just encourage relaxation, compassion for where you are, where your body is today. Enjoying the feeling of rest and relaxation to start the day. Staying connected to the breath, being grateful for the breath, each breath we take. On the next breath, release the left leg, taking the foot to the ground and hug the right knee a little tighter. So you're stacking the knee right on top of the thigh. Take your arms out to the side and just slowly start to rotate to the left. Starting our practice today in a rotation. Notice how it feels. Notice how it feels to have the legs crossed as they are. And if that, doesn't feel good, feel free to release the leg and make any adjustments that you need to. Kind of tune in right now with your feeling on the mat and notice how you're feeling. Are you able to sit in just a place of contentment? Are you okay with just where your body is right now? And just start to tune in and recognize your thoughts and feelings in the moment without judgment, just recognizing. On the next breath, you can take one leg at a time. So you can bring the right leg up, just so it's a little easier on the back, then the left leg up and hug the knees in towards the chest. Just gently rocking side to side for a moment, just to realign the spine. And then when you're ready, right foot touches the ground, left ankle over the right, coming into figure four on this side. So draw the right leg in and see if you can find a position where the shoulders and head rest on the ground. You don't want to feel too much like a pretzel here. On the next breath, just drop that right foot to the ground and hug the left knee in towards the right a little bit more. Arms can go out to the side and just drop the legs off to the right. Maybe shift the hips a little bit if you need to. Finding that nice rotation on the other side. And if you find that your mind is wandering today, just come back to your breath. Come back to something that you can think of in your mind that brings you happiness and peace. Something that you have in your life that you're happy about or you're proud of. On the next breath, slowly begin to rise up one leg or two legs at a time, hugging the knees in towards the chest, gently rocking side to side. Now, on the next breath, let's take the left leg straight down and the right leg will come off to the side. So tuck the bottom of the right foot into the left leg and allow the right knee to come to the side. So coming to reclined half butterfly or reclined tree pose. Just allowing that nice gentle opening in the inner thigh on the right hand side and allowing that palms to come maybe facing up on the ground, maybe coming back into Jana Mudra. Pointer finger under the thumb. And allowing yourself to fall back into relaxation. Now, as human beings, it's in our nature to always want to get more and be more and advance and set goals. And of course, all these things are great and there's nothing wrong with them. Just want to make sure that we're not sacrificing our peace and happiness to get these things. Really, a simple example is even just being on the mat. Maybe we're going into a posture that we feel we should be doing a little bit better at, and we try to push into it. And then you'll notice when we push and try to force things, our body starts to tense up. And we lose often that sense of peace and relaxation. So as we flow towards goals and advancing our lives in whatever way we choose, just making sure to continue a sense of contentment as we do so. At every step along the way, we're just okay with where we are and what we have. In the next breath, just start to bring that right knee up to the center. And we're just going to switch sides. So extend the right leg and bend into the left. So coming into the same position on the other side, adjusting the back and the hips and the leg as you need to. Noticing how it feels on this side. Any time if just having the knee off to the side is too much, place a bolster or a block underneath the knee. Remembering in yin yoga, we do want to go to a point of stretch and then back off a little bit. Maybe pushing beyond the limits that we would maybe in a restorative class, but still making sure that we have that balance between length and relaxation, comfort. Staying connected to those nice relaxing breaths. And on the next inhale, just release the left leg, bending it up to the center. Bend the right leg as well. Just a little adjustment of the back here. Hug the knees in towards the chest, giving that low back a relief. Really lengthening into the back. Then from here, slowly start, we're going to end up on our hands and knees. So just move in a way that's going to keep you in a relaxed state. So maybe roll off to one side for a moment and then come on to hands and knees. From here, we're going to come into melting heart. So step that one hand forward, step the other hand forward. So we are looking to keep the hips above the knees. And then just, I like dropping down into the elbows. Now from here, we drop into the elbows. You can extend them and drop the forehead down. Option here is you can always take the hands behind the head This is a beautiful stretch for the back, the sides of the back, the thoracic spine, kind of that upper middle back. Triceps if the arms are bent. And it is a back bend, so you want to focus on flipping the sit bones up to the sky and allowing the belly to go towards the thighs or the floor. Now, just in this position, don't worry about what it looks like. Just focus on just being in the posture and feeling the posture. Not worrying about what the belly's doing, just let it hang out. And having the forehead on the ground just signifies surrender. So just surrendering into the pose. Take just a few more breaths here. And on the next breath, slowly start to rise up, maybe just walking the knees towards the elbows. I find that's the easiest way to get out of here. And then sit back on the heels, coming into child's pose for a moment, maybe even the knees together, feet together, just allowing the shoulders to roll around the knees. Putting something under the head if that feels better. Just rounding into the spine. And on the next breath, just use your hands to guide you back up. And we'll come to a seated position. So taking the legs straight out in front. Sitting up tall. Getting that nice stacked tall spine. And then when you're ready, just tip from the hip. Slowly start to move forward, move into the stretch, lengthening all through the back of the legs. Lengthening through the back. Letting the hands just fall where they may. So this is a great posture to practice that santosha, that contentment, and just releasing the desire to push further than you maybe need to or want to. A lot of the times in this position, we want to reach for those toes. It's all about touching the toes. But if we can just kind of release that need, just allow the body to settle into where it needs and wants to go. And just relax. We all know that during life, things change. There's always that ebb and flow of weather changes and changes in our environment, maybe our work, changes in our physical bodies. The one thing that does remain constant is that internal self, that soul self. So as much as we can, as we practice on our mats, we're looking to connect to that piece of us so that as things do change in our physical world or physical body, even, we can just look to that soul self for comfort and guidance and to just reiterate those feelings of contentment. And on the next breath, slowly begin to rise up, taking the hands behind you and just allowing the chest to shine to the sky. Just a little bit of a counter posture. And then on the next breath, come on up. Now, next pose, we're going to go into frog pose. Some of you know frog pose. I'm going to give you an option here. So, half frog is when we lie on our stomach and then draw one leg up. So, this is always an option for you, just resting the head. But if you'd like to join me into frog pose, we're going to turn so that you're facing the long edge of the mat. And the best way for this one, I like to do anyways, it's easier on the knees, is just fold the sides of your mat up so that you have a little extra padding under your knees. Okay. Now from here, we're going to go, excuse me, quite wide. Okay. Now notice how my toes and feet are flaring out. So you do want to take a look and go, okay, you want to get as close to 90 degrees in the knee as you can. And then from here, slowly start to push the knees out. Now we do want to keep those hips up fairly high. So we, well, I guess really choosing your hip position based on how it feels for you. So usually we want to try not to push our hips back too much, but keep them a little bit forward, but not coming to the ground. So we're looking for a fairly intense inner thigh stretch. But this is a great one, is that want to make sure that we're not pushing ourselves too far physically into this posture, right? So it might be one that our body's not quite ready to go to. And you'll notice if you do try to do that, your body will kind of defend itself against that force. And when we're in our world, part of practicing Santosha and being content with where we are, just remembering that the more we work from a place of fear, attachment, and pushing towards where we want to go, the further away we push ourselves from where we're wanting to go. So it's counterproductive to try to push and force our way to where we want to go. It's better to almost just surrender and release, relax, and just settle into where the body wants to go. Now, if you have chosen half frog, go ahead and switch sides. And we've got just a little longer, just about a minute here. So if you feel the body inviting you to go deeper, feel free. On the next breath, slowly, I like to come up onto the hands. So come up onto the hands and then just take one knee and bring it in, and then bring the other in if you're coming at a full frog pose. Push the mat back to where it was at. Have a seat. So from here, let's extend the left leg forward and take the right knee as far across as we can into half shoelace. So if you normally do half shoelace, maybe try full. And so full shoelace is bending into both knees. But if you usually do full shoelace, then go into half shoelace. So I personally did half shoelace yesterday. So I'm going to do full today. So choose whatever position works best for you. The goal here is to get those knees stacked on top of each other as much as you can. So a bit of a counter posture from frog pose. So we're now lengthening into the outer side of the hip, looking to sit nice and tall and lean in. Maybe as you sit here, allowing the eyes to close or just at a soft gaze. Sometimes I like just to gaze at a little piece of the floor and just gives you a focus sometimes, and a focus rather than closing the eyes. And it's almost like looking into a fire or a candle flame, kind of sometimes allows the mind to settle down a little better than the eyes closed. On the next breath, slowly begin to just rise up if you are leaning into it. And we're just going to come to the other side. So slowly lean back onto the hands and just switch. So straighten into the right leg if you wish. Left knee comes on top. I always like starting here so I can know I get my position. And then if you want to come and bend into that bottom leg, go ahead and do so. Again, feeling whatever position works good for you. Finding that soft gaze or eyes closed and just focus on the breath. Sitting into that content space. One thing I love about yin yoga is the opportunity just to sit quietly in a pose, just knowing there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, but just let the body release. And on the next breath, slowly begin to rise. And just release those. And in whichever way feels best for you, come onto the hands and knees. And I want you just to kind of wiggle the hips from side to side, just releasing those hips a little bit. And now from here, stepping forward with the right leg, we're going to come into twisted dragon. So I'm just going to set my timer here. So from here, coming forward, dropping those hips forward, keeping the left hand on the ground, right hand on the knee, we're going to open. We're going to rotate, open to the right. Maybe look and gaze over the right shoulder. So a little bit more activity here in the upper body so that we can relax and release into the hip flexors, releasing those hips. You know, this is a posture that's often like, oh, it's so, it can be feeling pretty difficult depending on how tight those hip flexors are, but it's such a good one to do on a regular basis, as it just really helps to release the hips, counterbalances all the sitting around that we might be doing. You might even want to push that right knee open a little bit, going a little deeper into the hips. On the next breath, just exhale and push back to lengthen into the hamstring. Just digging into the back of the leg, keeping your back as straight as you can. So shine the chest proud. A little bit of a back bend here. So we want a soft knee, so it's not a completely straight leg. So just bend slightly so it takes the stretch away from just right behind the knee. And on your next breath, just release, come forward, coming back into hands and knees once again. Getting ready and set up for the other side. So let's step forward with the left foot, keeping the right hand on the ground, pushing those hips towards the ground and start to open to the left. Either closing the eyes or keeping the gaze soft. Just let gravity push those hips closer to the ground. On the next breath, gently push the hips back, lengthen into that hamstring. So again, straight but not fully straight leg. Slight bend in the knee. And on the next breath, gently release onto the hands and knees. And then come into a seated position. So we're going to get into those inner thighs just a little bit more. So let's come into half butterfly here. So we're going to sit up tall. So kind of just like we did in that reclined position when we started the practice. This time we're going to sit tall. And from here, we're going to start to lean into the pose. So we'll start to feel that stretch in the lengthened, the straight leg. And then make your way as far forward as you feel you can or you want to. And as we start to kind of conclude the practice, getting into our last few postures, we want to just remember, I read there's a nice quote or kind of a couple of lines that I read online the other day, and it says, "We have a habit of waiting to be ourselves until we've accomplished this never ending to do list of things that will make us better. While the truth is, you will always be you. And you can either continue to disregard your awesomeness in favor of reaching towards something you think you're supposed to be, or you can appreciate it, love it, and be the best that you can be right now. Truly, authentically, and unapologetically you. Be content with all you are and all you have, because there's no one else who can offer the world what you have to offer." And just breathe into that right now, taking a few extra breaths here before we switch sides. Slowly beginning to rise up, and we'll switch to the other side. So lengthen the right leg, bend into the left, and slowly start to lean into the pose whenever you're ready. Now, in our practice today, we focused on Santosha, finding that happiness and peace and contentment within. And this is really such an important practice to always come back to as much as possible, because we cannot love, trust, give, or live fully until we have enough of that love inside of ourselves. Allowing a few more breaths here. And on the next breath, slowly begin to rise up. Now let's take the left foot and just so square yourself towards the right toe. Take your left foot over the right. And from here, sit up nice and tall and just grab on to that left knee. Sitting up tall, left arm behind you, just to keep you upright. On the next breath, slowly release. Let's extend the left leg and cross the right. Hugging into that right knee, right arm behind you, sitting up tall, coming into rotation on the other side. And on the next breath, release. Slowly coming onto your back, hugging the knees in towards the chest, maybe coming into happy baby, reaching for the feet, the ankles, the legs. Gently rocking side to side. One last opening of the hips. And on the next breath, settling into Shavasana, taking a couple of minutes here just to relax and release. Taking a couple of nice breaths in and out to fully relax, maybe breathing in and out through the nose now, maybe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Maybe the hands come back into Jana Mudra, which is pointer finger under the thumb, the other three fingers point forward. Now, on the next breath, gently wiggle the fingers and the toes. Start to getting some movement into the body, hugging the knees in towards the chest, gently rocking side to side.
When you're ready, rolling off to the right or left hand side into fetal position, hugging the knees in towards the chest. And when you're ready, coming up to a seated position. If you're using a drop of oil, go ahead and use that now. I'm using marjoram today, so this is the oil of connection and trust to the self and others. Beautiful oil for that. Also, a really great oil to relieve discomfort of stiff joints and muscle tension. But wherever you're at, I want you just to sit quietly, placing the hands on the lap or on the knees. Allowing the most important message from Santosha practice today is whatever it is that you want to do, do it. Don't wait. Don't wait for happiness. You have everything you need right now within you. So get out there and do whatever it is you've been waiting to do until you're good enough because you already are. Taking the hands to heart center if they're not already there, bowing into the heart. Wishing you all love, light, and many blessings. Namaste.